Do you remember before when I was saying that you cannot learn about politics without also learning about economics?
Yeah.
What is the connection between those things?
No, you were saying, like, do you know what is in common between politics and...
Politics and economics are two sides of the same coin. Every political action is also an economic action. How is that possible?
Obviously.
What do you mean, obviously? It's common sense.
Common
Duh,
sense.
Everyone knows that.
Yeah. It's like... I don't know. Because we are speaking... No, I don't know.
Well, because, you know, like... What is politics? What do politicians do?
I was thinking, like,
what does a law do? What does a tax or a sanction do? What does a subsidy or a grant do? Everything a politician can do is in some way an economic action. Can you see that?
Actually,
Yes.
so what about, sorry, I don't want to move from the topic, but what about the abortion, for example?
That's an economic action.
Really?
Yeah, of course.
Because you add one human or not?
No, not exactly what I meant. I mean, abortion is a medical service offered in an economy for a price to a consumer who demands that service.
Fuck.
Right?
Yes.
And all we're arguing is whether or not we should allow these people to offer this service to consumers, right? It's no different than if I decided, you know, fuck grapes. Grapes are illegal now. You can't buy grapes anymore. And if I find out you're growing grapes, I'm going to arrest you. That's an economic action, right? You can see that, right? If I ban the production or sale of grapes, that's an economic action, right? Abortion is a service. We get to sit here and argue about the moral validity of that service, like whether or not a fetus deserves an inherent right to life, or, you know, the philosophical basis. But at the end of the day, however you think of abortion, it is a service in the same way that you might think assassination is a service. Right? We can say, well, that's immoral. There shouldn't be assassins, but assassination is a service. There's a consumer demand for assassination. People pay a price for it. There are professionals who provide this service, right? So you could, if you really wanted to vilify abortion, you could compare it to assassination, but still, it's an economic service. And if you make it illegal, that's all you're doing. You're interfering with the economy to say, we do not think this service should be in our economy.
So it's like from good morning, it started until the next good morning, like everything that we are doing.
Every choice you make is economic.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And all politicians can do,
Suicide.
that's economic too, of course it is.
Is it?
Yeah.
In what sense?
You're deciding what to do with your own property, right? If I want
I love
to
this. Yeah.
smash this plate on the ground, I will be destroying its useful function as a plate. It's not really a plate, it's like a small bowl with a wooden handle. I don't know what you call this. Let's call it a plate for simplicity though. Right? I can do that. Why? Because it's my fucking plate. I can do what I want with it, right? And none of you would have any kind of legal or moral claim against me, like, you broke my plate. You owe me money for that plate now. You owe me compensation. No, because it's mine and we all agree it's my plate, right? Yeah. Almost everything in this house is mine, so I can do almost anything I want with it, right? Unless I made some kind of specific agreements with someone else about what I'm going to do with them, right? Who owns my life?
You?
Yeah.
And you.
Right. And even if you don't believe in some kind of etherical, intangible, you know, soul or something, the physical organism that is my body, that's an economic claim. It's a claim of ownership, right? So, some forms of governance, and by that I would include religion, because religion is ultimately a form of governance too, would say that your life does not belong to you. You do not own your own body. Either it belongs to the Soviet Union, right? You are not the owner of your own life. If you kill yourself, you are committing a crime against the state which owns your body, right? As a productive worker for the glorious Soviet Union, or whatever, right? Or some would say your body belongs to the church or to their conception of God, right? So again, this is all a claim of ownership. Is suicide an economic action or crime? It depends on who you think owns your body, right? The same way that if I break this plate, whether or not I've done something wrong depends upon who we agree the owner of this plate is, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing.
Exactly. Just because I think we didn't record this part, he started like Thomas Paine was the opposite of Marx.
Yes.
And you start to...
Yes. So Paine wrote about politics and Marx wrote about economics, but they were talking about the same thing, just using different terminology, two sides of the same coin, right? When Paine was saying that you don't need a ruler to govern your life for you, to tell you what to do, again, he was essentially making an economic claim that you are capable of making your own choices about what to do with your life, how to produce wealth or acquire it, how to productively employ your talent, your skills, your resources. All of these are economic claims. Marx was saying the same thing, except he was saying the opposite. He was saying the only way for society to be fair, and I'm not a Marxist, I've only read a small amount of Marx, so if any Marxists are watching this and you think I'm misrepresenting him, feel free to tell me in the comments or wherever, but basically the tenets of communism are that the fairest or most moral or best structure of society is that the government controls as much economic activity as possible. The exact opposite of what Thomas Paine said, that the government should be deciding who is producing what, when, where, how much, and who gets how much of what, when, where, how much, in as many cases as possible, which we call communism, or totalitarianism, or authoritarianism, or by many, many names, but they're all shades of the same thing. One person or one group of people appointed to a position of leadership making all the decisions for someone else. The exact thing that Thomas Paine was arguing against, saying you don't need that. It is horrible, it is detestable to have that. That human beings are capable and should be capable of making their own decisions.